towards the water sector. Just to give a snapshot, in Africa we have about 35 funds focused on gender lens investing, and about 60% of those funds are being directed towards sectors like agriculture, IT, financial services, and not to the water sector. So this is an opportunity for us in the water sector to really include women in our organizations, in our water businesses, and especially in the utilities, because that's where we really have a need to increase investments in the private sector, so not just relying on government financing and donor financing. So there's an opportunity for us to include women even in our utilities, in senior management level, in board level, and sort of tap into these finances that are out there that are really just focused on women. And the other thing I want to say is that there's a benefit towards also including women in our organizations, in our businesses. Research has shown that businesses that include women in leadership decision-making levels tend to have more profitability in terms of, and also returns on investment, sometimes 2 times more than businesses that have been led by men. Again, they are more likely to employ 2 times more women in their organizations. And so creating more opportunities for women and creating more opportunities even for the youth. Again, women-led businesses tend to be have more holistic strategies that are sustainable in the long term. And really those are the things that private sector financiers look for in any business. So good returns on investment, impact, and if we are able to position ourselves to tap into that, then we can be able to access the financing that we need then to realize some of the goals that we want to meet in the water sector.
Thank you, Grace. Let me now bring Ruth from Water Sector Trust Fund to respond to those questions related to finance, after which we will have it summed up by Engineer Chengo from the Directorate of Sanitation at the Ministry. Then we will have the parting shot from Dr. Sheila. Then we wrap up. Where is the guy doing the mic? So a flurry of opportunities in financing for young people and women. So the opportunities are increasingly unlimited. So we have to unleash our potential so that we attract them. Yes, Ruth, you can go.
Okay, thank you so much, CEO Anton. So my name is Ruth Ngane, the Manager for Partnership Development and Resource Mobilization at the Water Sector Trust Fund. I am happy to take the 3 questions that were directed to the CEO Water Sector Trust Fund. So the first question was on disaster risk management and basically how the information is reaching the grassroots, especially for youth to be able to access this. So on this, I want to say a few things. First of all, most of the financing that we do is actually development, because development is always there. Development programs are always there. But disaster risk management programs come when a national disaster is announced by the president. So if we can even start right there at the development programs, so we have information that goes down to the counties, to the water companies, and even to community-based organizations every time we have funding. And this is usually done through calls for proposals, which will be done either through the target area, if it is not targeting the whole country, and if it is the whole country, it's actually a call for proposals, which is in the newspapers. So it is very well announced. And also the website, our Water Fund website also has a lot of information. So for the youth and even women, when there is disaster and basically there is funding for this, like for example, there isn't actually still ongoing COVID-19, just liaise with your counties, county leadership, liaise with your water utilities, liaise with the community-based organizations in the area, and see whether they are doing proposals for these things, because those are the organizations that we work through. However, even as a youth, as an individual or as a youth group, you can talk to us, you can write to us, you can email us, because sometimes we also do finance activities through corporate social responsibility. So if we find this is an activity that cannot wait for development, cannot wait for disaster, we are not hoping for disasters, then we can do it quickly under corporate social responsibility within budget constraints, yeah? I hope you understand what that last statement means, within budget constraints. So moving on to mobilizing funds for youth and women, I would want to say our funding for youth and women is mostly mainstreamed within our programming. If you listened to the CEO when he spoke, the very design of the programs includes the youth and women interests. So much so that even in the community committees, we require, in the programs that we finance, we actually require the 2/3 gender rule to be very well captured. When it comes to managing of projects, like small things like once, for example, a utility has done a project like the ones we saw there. If there is a water kiosk, we have a very specific request to the utilities that they give the management of that to vulnerable groups. That could be youth, that could be even the people living with disability, that could be women, and even like the public sanitation facilities that you see, where people even keep like shops and all that, and they can be managed by that same team. That does not mean that we are relegating women and youth to the smaller things. Remember I said youth and women issues and funding is mainstreamed within the program, the whole of the program. If a CEO of a water company is a woman, then this funding is going to be managed by that lady, for example. If the leader of the CBO is a lady, then the lady is going to manage that. So we mainstream all this, and we require inclusivity, so much so that we have a gender and social inclusion strategy in the Water Sector Trust Fund approved by the board, which we are actually implementing in all our programming. So I wouldn't say that we source funds specifically for youth and women, because there is a mandate of the Water Sector Trust Fund under the Water Act 2016, but we make sure that they are included, actually all of Kenyans are included in the programming that we do. But once again, like I said, there is always an aspect. For example, in programs, we expect if there is a school within the project area that needs water and sanitation, we expect it to be included in the project proposal that comes to us. If there's a dispensary or a health center that requires these services, we expect it to be included, and so on, even market centers. And all this ends up basically benefiting also women and youth. And also men, yeah? Let's not forget our men. It's because you're basically covered. That's why we don't talk to you about you a lot. Finally, how we are integrating with other funds in the country, like the Youth Fund and the Women Fund. I want to say that was a really good question, because sometimes we don't see the synergy of these various programs, basically because, for example, they are in different ministries. And again, like we mentioned, the issue of mandate. So for this, what I would want to say is we move to collaboration. The trust fund can initiate that at our level, but we would also require you to initiate that at your level. We talked of co-funding and leveraging. For example, if a women group has accessed funds through the Women Fund or youth through Youth Fund for water, how about you partner also with us or with the utility in your area and combine and do a bigger project through the leveraging? That is what we mean by co-funding. So these are synergies that we can create. And I would say, Engineer Chenko is here, I would say there probably has not been much partnership with Youth Fund and Women Fund in the water sector, at least not through the Water Sector Trust Fund, but that is a proposal that we will take up and initiate those discussions, the same way we initiated discussions with the Gender Ministry, and they supported us to do the Gender and Social Inclusion Strategy. So thank you very much, CEO. I'll end it there.
Thank you very much. Back to Engineer Chengo to answer a number of questions that have been raised. Then we wrap up this session with the parting shot from Dr. Sheila.
Thank you very much. Two responses. On the issue from our work on harnessing data from various sources, the efforts that are going on is to, as much as possible, to come to an agreement about the kind of data we are looking for and the definitions. I think that's where sometimes the challenges are. When you're looking at the national census, you're looking at the household surveys, you look at WASPA data, some of the challenges we get is in terms of definition. So there are engagements to try at least to agree on the definition so that each source of data can be able to give us what we are looking for as a sector. And that is underway. From Ogut, I think it was a recommendation. In development projects across the country, the opportunities there that I mentioned in terms of service provision, in terms of employment, in terms of consultancy services, we would like as much as possible those to be taken up by the women and youth. It's not been done. I think the conversation we should have is to how best do we enhance that engagement? How do we ensure the youth and women take those opportunities that are being there? Moving forward in terms of putting a policy position, a policy paper, that's a recommendation that we can be able to take up. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Chengo. Finally, Dr. Sheila.
Thank you very much, Mr. CEO. I would want to maybe take it as an action call, myself included, but everyone here, something that has been mentioned several times, or I've heard it being mentioned several times, is the fact that one, we have opportunities amongst the youth and the women. It makes me very happy when I see innovations, like for instance, the other day, we were being told of someone who had come up with beds, I think beds for COVID patients that the president funded, or furniture. I'm not sure he funded, or furniture, or hand washing stations. So these are opportunities that are there in our countries. And so when I hear such, it is a wake-up call for myself and all of us included, I think, to harness the potential that we have within us amongst the young people and amongst the women. They have lots of opportunities. They may lack one or two things. They may lack just one or two things to probably move them to the next step. So in our own capacities, maybe the action is to empower them and pull them up to where they need to be, so that then they can be empowered to realize their full potential. So maybe at the end of the day, it's about not judging a book by its cover, quote unquote, but really empowering the young men, empowering the women to realize their potential that they have within them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Why don't we join me in appreciating these speakers and panelists? Thank you very much, and that one brings us to the end of the discussion. I wouldn't want to delve because I was making some comments as the presentations and the discussion was going on. Thank you very much. We now transit into another phase of this conference. So before we break, I'll make a few announcements so that you are guided in the remaining part of the session. Yeah, you are free. You are at liberty to exit the stage. Now, for all our partners who have joined us this morning, just wave for recognition. You can wave if you are not here yesterday. I'm not sure, but I've seen Aqua for All. They are around. Malis Butterlink from Netherlands and your team, Karibu Sana. Keep Your Africa, you can see them around. There are a number of MDs from utilities who have joined us around. I don't know where they are, but I've seen Jaramba, Anthony, my namesake from Mombasa. We have Muranga South MD who has been here from the beginning of the conference, and others who are around. There's the County Directorate of Migori represented here, and those ones who we have not recognized you, we recognize you. Thank you very much. Now, we want to break at exactly 11, and at 11 we will have our health break up to 11:30. And this is how the breakaway concurrent sessions will look like. So I would request for you to listen attentively so that you don't get a mix-up, because we have changed the order of things as they appear in the program to afford us enough time to sample the flora and fauna of this great county, and also have time to travel back, because some of us have been here since Tuesday. So after the health break, which runs from 11 to 11:30, between 11:30 and at most 1, in this auditorium, we'll have the sub-theme capacity development and research to optimize the untapped youth and women potential. This is a session chaired by the MD, Muranga South, Mary Nyaga. The speaker is Caroline Mugwe from the Directorate of Human Resource. She's here. The Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation. We have MD Anthony Njaramba. We have Engineer Petronila Ogut, former CEO at Lake Victoria Waterworks Development Agencies, now a lecturer at the Technical University. Eva Muhia, President, Kenya Septage MTS Association. Ruth Nganga, Manager Resource Mobilization and Corporate Communication at WSTF. And Vincent Ouma, Head of Programs at Kewasnet. So that session will take place here in the auditorium from 11:30 to 1 p.m. and not beyond that time. Sub-theme 5 will take place at Hibiscus. Hibiscus is on this same floor as you exit the exhibition space. I think you just take 2 steps up, then you will find it is on your left as you exit. That is where we'll have that session on innovations and technologies. This is an abstract session chaired by the interim chair of Young Water Professionals, Jeremy Mberu. We'll have Marcel. We'll have Marcel from Maji Milele on innovation. We'll have CC Alukwe from the county of Busia, doing design and implementation of a water billing system. I'm not sure, no, this is just Alukwe, I'm not sure which Alukwe, sorry. Then we have providing opportunities for entrepreneur in the water sector, Chepto J. Then we have non-revenue water, a case of Naivasha Water, Njunge H. So that session will take place at Hibiscus. Then the final breakaway session, though there are concurrent sessions running at the same time, will take place at Orchard. Orchard is within the same building, but when you are at Hibiscus, Orchard, I think, is on your right if I've mastered the plan of this building. Both of them are on the same ground floor. So this session on good governance in water and sanitation through inclusion of youth and women will be chaired by the CEO Kiwasnet, Samson Shivaji. And we'll have a presentation on fighting against water and sanitation linked to sexual exploitation. This will be done by Malik S. Then we'll have the role of county government in water resource management in Nairobi City County by Chungani H. So the same, we have also accountability and responsiveness, another abstract by Chumo, Kabaria and Beru. Safety planning on sanitation, Kasuki M. And mentorship and succession management for youth and women, Maundu B. So I think that one makes it explicitly clear to those who are presenting in those sessions and also it guides the General Assembly on where you are supposed to be. So we are expected to be seated here. If those sessions can run and the chairs save like 10 minutes to allow people to move here, because I think by 12:40 we will be set here for the closing ceremony. So it would be very, very important to save some time as we do these presentations and discussions in our respective concurrent sessions, so that we have that time. So we don't want to take much time within the breakaway. We want within the hour, then the closing session. There is a lot of intricacies during the closing ceremony. The chief guest is already with us here. That is the Chief Administrative Secretary in charge of, in the Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation, Dr. Andrew Twimur. Those who were here at the gala dinner yesterday had the benefit of interacting with him, and also His Excellency the Governor of this great county will be represented. So we expect the closing session to take place within the hour, so that before 2 p.m. or thereabout, we should have exited the closing arena and progressed to lunch and other activities. Thank you very much. This session now stands dissolved, and we are at liberty to exit to the garden to have our health break. Thank you very much.